everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. So in today's card making video, we're going to be playing with our Gilding Flakes again. And I'm going to be using a stamp set from Ginakdesigns, that's the Smiling Bloom stamp set, and the Chariot of Fire Gilding Flakes from IndigoBlu, along with their Tacky glue, which is called FlitterGlue. We will be doing a little bit of heat embossing as well, using the Wow Platinum embossing powder. And I've got a panel of 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch black cardstock ready to go. But first of all, we're going to stamp our image. So I'm going to use this gorgeous large floral stamp from the Smiling Bloom stamp set from Ginakdesigns. And I'm going to stamp it with some Wow embossing ink on the black card. I always recommend using an anti-static powder bag first of all, just in case you've got any grease marks or finger marks or anything like that on the cardstock. You don't want your embossing powder sticking to it, so it's always best to use an anti-static powder bag. It's not because the powder's static, because Wow treat their powder with a special treatment so that it is anti-static, but it is just in case you've got any grease marks on your cardstock. So I'm just inking that stamp up now. Now I'm using an acrylic block because I don't mind using my stamping blocks, but if you prefer to use a stamping platform so that you can repeat stamp if you miss any areas, then you could definitely do that. But you can see we've got our perfectly stamped image there. I'm going to now add the embossing powder. So this is the platinum embossing powder from Wow, and I'm catching the excess powder in that piece of white paper so that I can pop it back in the pot and use it for another project. I'm then going to heat set the powder using my Wow embossing heat tool on the hottest setting. So if you do have a tool with a dual setting on, then you always want to use the hottest setting when you're heat embossing. I'm heat setting from underneath so that it's nice and smooth, and then you can see we've got that beautiful heat embossed image. So off camera, I stamped the image and created a mask. I've just used the Ginakdesigns Masking Magic paper. So this is just a low tack paper that can be used to mask off an image, and then we can add our gilding flakes around it. So I'm just going to peel off the backing tape there and then stick that carefully over the image. When you're masking an image, you really want to fussy cut as close to the black lines as possible, even slightly into the lines, because you want that to go over the stamped image that you've got. So I'm just carefully lining that up now. It is quite a detailed stamp, but it wasn't too tricky to fussy cut this out. And because the Masking Magic paper is quite thin, it's very easy to fussy cut all around those delicate areas. So once I've carefully lined that up and stuck it down, we can then go ahead and add our tacky glue. And so I'm going to apply that using a sponge. This is the FlitterGlue from IndigoBlu, but there are other brands of glue that are tacky. For example, Cosmis Shimmer do a flake and glitter glue. And basically what that means is that the glue, when it dries, it stays tacky until you've covered it with something. So it's great for glitter, it's great for foils that can be used without heat, and it's also great for gilding flakes. So I'm just using a palette knife here just to kind of push the glue into the sponge. And you really don't need a lot of glue for this technique, but I just want to make sure that it's all pushed into the sponge and we're not going to get any big blobs of glue. And so what you'll find with the tacky glue is it does actually dry quite quickly. And when it's dry, it will just go clear. So you can see even now it is almost dry because we've only used a very small amount of glue. So this is going to create a really fun foiling in the background behind the image. So yeah, I think this is going to look really good when it's finished. So I'm going to add the Gilding Flakes. This is the Chariot of Fire Gilding Flakes from IndigoBlu. If you watch my channel, you'll know that I love their Gilding Flakes just because they're quite large, they're not static, they're really good value for money, and they last a long time. So you will find a pot of Gilding Flakes just is the gift that keeps on giving. So I'm just going to carefully apply Gilding Flakes now all around the image. Just carefully. I want them to be as flat as possible so that we get that lovely shine from them. And you just want to make sure that you've covered all the areas with the tacky glue. Don't worry about the fact that you've got glue on the mask and you're going to go over the mask with the Gilding Flakes. You'll still be able to peel it up at the end. So yeah, that's why we've got the mask in place to protect the image underneath. So don't worry if you've got flakes all over your mask. And so you probably won't be able to use this mask again, but that's just for this technique. So I'm going to use a scoochy foam now. This is just a slightly abrasive foam. And you just rub it gently over the Gilding Flakes to remove the excess flakes, but you could use a paintbrush for this as well. So once I've rubbed off all the excess flakes, I can put those bits back in the pot. I'm just going to wipe my desk. and then dust off my card panel with that microfiber cloth, and then we can reveal the mask. And this is where it's really fun to see the design underneath, and you can see that it's preserved it perfectly. So even though we've got Gilding Flakes on the mask, it's easy enough to peel up still, and you can see we've got that design there. So I think this looks really, really pretty, and it's a really fun way of using Gilding Flakes in the background. If you do find that you've missed any areas, then you can add Gilding Flakes to the Tacky glue still and then just rub off the excess. I had a bit of Masking Magic stuck at the top right, which I've just removed. And then you can see we've got that gorgeous panel with all that lovely shine. So to colour the image, I'm going to use some Lisa Horton Crafts inks. I've got a metallic ink and an interference ink. So the interference inks look different on white and black cardstock. So the colour to the right on that ink pad is what it's going to look like on the black cardstock. The metallic ink will be the same colour on white or black, but you do get quite a lot of shine on the black card. And because these inks are also water reactive, I'm going to use them to watercolour the image. So I've just got a little jar of water there. I've got a paintbrush, and I'm just going to watercolour all the leaves in there. I'm using the metallic colour that's called Verdigris, so it's a really lovely green. And then once that's all watercoloured in, we'll start watercolouring the flower. So you can see that it's got a lot of shine. It's still a little bit wet, but we'll leave that to dry and we'll colour the flower in next. So as I said, although it's gone down green on my glass mat, on black cardstock it's going to have that lovely hint of purple. So again, I'm just watercolouring the flower in. I do decide that it is quite subtle, so you can see that purple there, but it is quite pale and quite subtle. So I do decide to come in with a metallic ink. So this one is called Ultraviolet, and it's a lot more vibrant. So again, it's a water reactive ink, so I'm just watercolouring the flower with it, and you can see that's a lot more of a vibrant pop of purple. And so I'm just going to colour all of the flowers with the same colour and then just wait for it to dry. I'm not using watercolour card here, this is just a smooth black card. So I'm just going to trim my panel down to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. I decided that didn't quite leave me enough of a border, so I'm going to trim another 1/4 of an inch off. So it will be 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And I'm just working out which end I want to take some from the top, but I do decide to take from the bottom. I then just kind of play around with the direction, because I actually think you could have this facing any way on your card. It would actually look quite nice landscape, but I'm going to keep it portrait today, and I'm going to use a sentiment from the Paper Hug sentiments from Waffle Flower. I've got quite a collection of the sentiments in the back of the packaging that I've already stamped and die cut, and I really think that this would make a really pretty sympathy card. So that's the sentiment that I'm going to use. I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back of that panel and stick that down flat on my card, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of foam tape to the sentiment. So I'm just going to trim some thin foam tape there just to pop that up with a little bit of dimension. I'll add a few gold gems just to finish the card off, and then that's the card finished for today. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this technique. I hope that it's helped you to see that you can use your Gilding Flakes around masked images as well, that there's definitely lots of different ways that you could mask off your images and use your Gilding Flakes around them. As always, all the products that I've used will be listed in the description box below. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed this tutorial. It really helps me out. Leave me a comment, let me know if you've tried this technique before. Don't forget that you can now hype the video as well, which really helps out small content creators like myself. So if you're able to do that, I'd really appreciate it. These are all just small ways that you can support my channel that are completely free to you, but they really do make a big difference. As always, don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and I'll leave you with a link to the playlist of my Gilding Flake videos now if you want some more inspiration, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.